And now, the time has finally come for Yuta to unleash his full power. And to everyone's surprise, they are left in shock due to how strong he is. And what immediately catches the attention is the fact that Rika can hold weapons within her body, and this is something that we're really not used to seeing from Yuta and Rika alike. And as I have said many other times in a lot of my other videos, Yuta has gained a lot of experience, and aside from using his traditional katana, we see him wield a huge number of weapons. And the fact that Yuta is able to use so many weapons, it goes without saying that he's really improved in a really short amount of time. And again, they stressed his potential all the way up until the very moments when he made his debut as a character. And these small fights have been able to provide a very clear example as to what everyone has been saying. The fact that he's able to take on 3 different sorcerers who have already lived a lifetime really just shows how great he is, because imagine Yuta with a lifetime of experience. He's only been training and he hasn't even been a shaman for a majority of his life, just like his opponents. So it speaks to what kind of league he's in to be able to fight all these people. He has insane potential to be able to find different ways to use multiple curse techniques and learn how to use so many weapons in only a year. Who knows what Yuta's gonna be like in his prime? And there are even more details when it comes to his power, known as Rika. We know that this curse technique can store energy for Yuta. And that's not all, because Rika allows him to use curse techniques, and he also is able to use her complete manifestation as an extension of his self. And unfortunately, with all the good that comes from using Rika, there is a bad, and that would be the very fact that he can only use Rika for 5 minutes. Of course, we could imagine that this time period would be extended due to his potential and being able to surpass his limits. Yet even with this limit, 5 minutes seems like more than enough time Yuta needs to defeat his opponents. And with Yuta's first attack, his fighting prowess is really put on show here. Of course, when you're fighting an opponent and you don't know their curse techniques, they could possibly be at an advantage due to them possessing a technique that could counter your own technique. Yuta covers his mouth with his hands, and in doing so, he is able to trick his opponent by having them not realize what ability he's using. And after using it, it's too late for his opponent to do anything about it. For instance, Uro begins to realize that Yuta had used cursed speech, but by the time she began to recognize what it was too late because he covered his mouth with his hand. Knowing what your opponent is doing is half the battle. And because she fell for Yuta's trick, this was the perfect opportunity for him to finally get some serious damage in on Uro. And with Yuta having an opportunity, it's only natural that another opportunity would present itself in front of the other person involved in this fight, that being Ishiguri. While seeing Yuta attack Uro, now's as good a time as any for Ishiguri to blast Yuta with one of his strongest attacks. But of course, that's if he's able to actually attack him in time. With that being said, if Ishiguri would have attacked Yuta sooner rather than later, the result might not have really changed, because Rika was able to completely deflect his attack, causing it to do absolutely nothing. But of course, that doesn't necessarily make Ishiguri and his attack a pushover, because this same attack that Rika so easily deflected was able to actually hurt her. And no one likes being hurt, so Rika would definitely be a little angry about this. And so she takes her anger out on Ishiguri and just sends him flying with a punch, but to our surprise, Ishiguri is able to eat this punch like it's nothing, and then give Rika a taste of her own medicine, with it arguably being worse. Ishiguri's punch definitely looked like it hurt a little bit more. Even while being hurt, he still remains unfazed, only making him that much more excited to continue on with a fight, so that Ishiguri can finally find the satisfaction that he so desires. And when we see more of Yuta, we begin to understand his abilities even more, because it is possible for him to use his own hair as a medium for his Shikigami. And like I've said in a lot of my other videos that came out before this one, we know that Uro comes from a clan that has a direct rivalry with the clan that Yuta comes from. They have history, so to speak. And Yuta is completely oblivious to this history, which makes the dynamic between him and Uro all the more compelling. Because through Uro's fight with Yuta, we begin to understand more about her character and her motivations. Uro is from a group of assassins that pursue lives of selfless devotion in darkness, forsaken of the right to bear a name. Yet Uro wants an identity and was also given a name, although the person that gave Uro her name had used this as an attempt to frame Uro for a crime that they most likely committed. Although Uro begins to become absorbed with herself, she begins to realize that Yuta has actually copied Daruve's curse technique. And this is what makes Yuta so powerful. Whatever ability Yuta needs at a given moment, he can just use it as a way to completely destroy whoever he's fighting. And the dynamic between Uro and Yuta grows even more because Yuta comments on Uro living only for herself. And in response to this, she gets very upset and claims that people who live for others only do so because they have already completed the goals they already set out for themselves. And you can understand this way of thinking because only someone who would be worried about others is somebody that would have essentially already found their self, because they have found satisfaction within themselves, and so they had to look for satisfaction in others, which only speaks to the whole entire fight itself and why Uro and Ishiguri are even here in the first place, because they are missing that self-satisfaction. And the saddest thing about it all is that Uro is a hypocrite. She is from a group of assassins that are supposed to pursue lives of selfless devotion in darkness, meaning that they are supposed to live for others, yet at this moment she is only living for herself and going against all of her teachings. Even so, she wants a name and an identity, which was also another factor that goes against her teachings, because they are forsaken of the right to bear a name. Right now, instead of ultimately pursuing self-satisfaction, Uro is pursuing self-rejection, because she is doing the exact opposite of what she was taught in her lifetime. And fortunately, this may all end in a battle of domain.